What's up guys, my name's Adam and welcome back to Jamsville. So this is going to be part 2 to a video that I made quite a while ago called The Coolest Technique I Know on Guitar. And essentially that lesson was about how to play a basic version of the walking bass line and chords technique that you just heard me playing right now. If you haven't seen that last video, make sure you go watch it. There will be a card up in the corner there, and then come back to this video when you're done watching that one. So in this video, we're gonna go over how to advance a little bit more with this walking chords and bass line technique and expand upon the last video. All right, let's get started. Step 1 is that we are going to add in some syncopation. So for those of you who don't know, syncopation is simply when you place emphasis on the upbeats. So in the first video, all the emphasis was pretty much placed on the downbeats. All the chords fell right on beat 1. And what we can do to make things a little bit more interesting is we can actually stagger in the chords. We can just do this with the original example. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that same 2, 5, 1 in the key of G, and instead of playing each of the upper notes in the chord on beat 1, I'm gonna actually play them on the and of 1. So I'll play this slowly and show you. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all I did was essentially place the upper structure of the note in between two bass notes. So you get this type of thing going on over and over. So instead of this, you get this. And just adding this in, mixing the syncopated chords with the non-syncopated chords is already going to start to make it sound a bit more interesting. So I'm going to play for a couple seconds over that same 2, 5, 1, 6 progression, and I'm not going to change any of the chords. I'm just going to mess with either putting the chord on the downbeat on beat 1 or putting the chord on the and of 1. So let's see how that sounds. So that already made it sound a little bit more interesting. One other syncopation that you could throw in there is actually playing 2/8 notes starting on beat 1. So that would sound like this. So just the combination of those three things, playing the chord in a downbeat, playing a chord on the upbeat, and playing 2/8 notes starting on the downbeat, now you're going to start to make things a lot more interesting than just the basic example from the first lesson. So I'm going to try that really quickly, combining those three things. Step 2 for expanding upon that first example, would be to add some chord inversions into the line. So one of the best options is to use spread triad inversions. I'm not going to get too much into the theory behind inversions, but essentially an inversion is just when you have a chord that doesn't have the root as its bass note. And for now, let's just stick with replacing the root position chords that we have in this whole sequence with chords that are in first inversion, which means that the third is in the bass. So instead of this A minor 7 chord that we've been playing here as the 2 chord, we can play this chord instead, which is an A minor triad in first inversion. If you notice, the bass note is now a minor third above the original A bass note. So it's actually the third of the chord that we're starting on. So for the D7 chord, instead of playing this, we could play this D major first inversion triad. And then for the 1 chord, the G major chord, we can play this. And then for the E7 chord, we can just play an E major triad in first inversion like this. It's the same thing that we were playing for D7, but up a whole step. Just the same way that this voicing is up a whole step from this voicing. So let's just try adding in the D major triad on the 5 chord that's in first inversion. So now I'm just going to freely allow myself to combine first inversions with the root position chords. So that's just a little bit of using that concept of inversions, and really you need to be familiar with all your inversions all over the neck, especially in spread triad form, in order to maximize the amount of utility that you get out of that concept. Step 3 is going to be displacing the chords. So far, the only real displacement we've done is just playing the chords on the and of 1. But you don't always have to play the chord on the downbeat or even the and of 1. You could delay the chord in each measure to beat 2 or beat 3 or possibly even beat 4. This is really good because especially over the course of an entire tune, it's going to start to get boring always hearing the chord either on the downbeat or on the and of 1. As a side note, when you're playing through a tune, you don't have to even play the chord on every single measure. You can just play bassline through a bar or two and then come back in with the upper structure of the chord. So I'm going to demonstrate playing like this a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the chords on the downbeats, and then I'm just going to start gradually displacing them more and more to beat 2 or beat 3 and allowing myself that freedom. So displacing the chord is a great way to create a little bit more interest. Now, sometimes it doesn't always work, and this is why you need to kind of improvise and experiment with it. The most important thing is that you simply keep the form and that you keep the time. If you're playing through a tune and improvising and you displace a chord or you hit a wrong bass note or something, as long as you keep that time going really strong consistently, you can always sort of work your way back to a basic line where you're getting back on the downbeats and making everything super clear. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you drop a like down below. Really appreciate it. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. And hit the bell so you get notifications. Step 4 is to break up the bass line. Over the course of a tune, you want to have different ways to change up the grooves and the feels that you have, sort of like a drummer would, especially if you're a guitar player playing in a duo situation or solo guitar. One of my favorite ways to do this is to actually use pedal points. Probably the best pedal point that you could have is the 5 chord. And one of the cool things I really like about using this pedal point in 5 is that it actually creates like this tension where the listener is wondering like, when are you gonna go back to playing the bass line? So let's see how that sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, when you're pedaling on the 5 chord like that, generally you're going to make it into a suspended 4 chord, which again allows you to build up that tension that is waiting to be released. I'll give you a couple of different good sus voicings here that are my go-tos for doing this. So you have this one, then you also have this one. And step 5 is going to be taking all the stuff we've covered so far and applying it to different tunes and improvising with it. Now, one of my favorite ways to practice this is by sight reading through tunes. So you can get your favorite reel book, iReel Pro, whatever, anything that has tunes that have chord changes in it, and start getting used to playing through tunes with a walking bass line and chords at the same time. The best approach to take with this is the same way you kind of started off with. Play basic forms of the walking bass and chords, and then as you get more and more comfortable with it, you'll be able to start incorporating all of the things that I've covered in this video and then some. You should be able to play through any standard that you know using this comping technique. And I just wanted to let you all know that I am currently accepting online Zoom guitar students. So if you want to dive really deep into your playing and get some new stuff going on, learn some new vocabulary, learn improvising concepts, then go to the link down in the description below and contact me to sign up for your first lesson. So I want you to let me know down in the comments below, which of these steps do you think that you're going to be implementing into your playing right now? Once again, if you enjoyed the video, you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell and drop a like down below. Alright everybody, until next time, listen, learn, and jam.